Hi everyone, I'm Kenneth Ryan.
And I'm Linz Risa.
And we're here with another episode of Fanfiction Friday where we're reading Not So Innocent by Ezzy Dean. We are on Chapter 3. I thought I held up 4 fingers. I was like, oh god.
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3. And we're gonna... Let's be punny. We're gonna dive right in to this free fanfiction. Okay. The first time he wakes up, Makoto is still pressed against his back, breath stirring the hair at the nape of his neck, and Souske just lets himself fall back asleep. He's warm, pleasantly worn out, and just wants to rest a bit longer. The second time he wakes up, Makoto is still asleep, but they've shifted, and this time it's Souske who is curled around Makoto's back. He wants to go back to sleep, but he also really needs to go to the bathroom. He presses a kiss to Makoto's shoulder before slipping out and unsteadily rising to his feet. His steps are incredibly wobbly, and his thighs burn as he shuffles down the hallway to where he's pretty sure Makoto pointed out the bathroom. The first door is actually a linen closet, but the second is the bathroom.
That's kind of a weird detail.
After he finishes and goes to splash some water on his face, he freezes when he sees his reflection. His neck is a mess of purple and blue splotches, and his chest isn't much better. He twists to make out his back, and sees a series of scratches running down it. He rolls his shoulders and winces a little as the muscles stretch. It's not just his shoulders that are sore, though. Nearly everything is a little sore today, especially his ass and hips, but it was definitely worth it. He sees Makoto sleeping when he steps back into the room and takes a moment to watch his steady breathing before sighing and crawling back onto the bed. It was still far too early to be functional, and he falls asleep easily after he curls back around Makoto. The third time he wakes up, he's alone, and he can hear Makoto somewhere else, probably the kitchen. It's as good a time as any to at least find himself a pair of boxers, he decides as he rolls out of the bed. He's not quite as stiff as before, but he can feel the telltale stretch of a good fuck in his muscles. A quick glance around the room doesn't reveal his boxers, or really any of his clothes that he can notice. He vaguely remembers Makoto yanking his pants and boxers off and dropping them off the side of the bed, so maybe they had gotten kicked underneath it at some point. It can't hurt to check, he decides, and carefully drops himself to the floor for a look. There's not much here. A balled-up sock that he pulls out that's not his, so he tosses it over his shoulder towards the door, and a box next to some magazines. He pulls the magazines out, hoping to have maybe spotted something to give him an insight into whatever other little kinks Makoto might have, and is mildly disappointed to see that they're just some sports magazines and an old shopping magazine of some kind. He tosses them back under and shifts his attention to the box. This time, he's not disappointed at all. In fact, he is once again surprised by Makoto.
You're reading this stuff all by my point of view, and this is where Makoto comes.
I'm too late.
Makoto comes back into his bedroom to wake Souske up and offer to make him something for breakfast, and freezes for a couple of reasons. That is a strange sentence structure.
I don't know, man.
One being that he has a very attractive, completely naked guy sitting on his floor, back and shoulders and neck, a mess of scratches and bruises from the night before, and it is a gorgeous sight. The other reason being he's sitting on the floor with the box from under Makoto's bed open in his lap. Souske is carefully poking through it, and Makoto lets out a nervous chuckle when Souske pulls a couple things out and just stares at them. Maybe he was wrong about Souske really being willing to let him try things out. That is your words.
My words. Already picking out what you want to try, huh? Souske must hear the nervousness in his voice because he turns and looks up at him with a soothing smile. Then he turns back and shuffles through the box again before pulling out a cock ring and a small wireless vibrator and giving Makoto a cocky grin and winking. Makoto nearly whimpers as blood rushes to his cock, and he sweeps across the room and pulls Souske up onto the bed, pressing kisses to his throat and cheeks.
Hey now.
Hey.
Oh, God. He-Man. Don't I even get breakfast or something? Oh, wait. Don't I ever even get breakfast or something? Makoto pulls back and just stares at him a moment before muttering under his breath. What was that?
Oh, that was you.
Yeah.
You're actually okay with it?
I said I'd let you experiment or play or whatever, didn't I?
Yeah, but...
So, Souske nuzzles under Makoto's chin and bites gently at his Adam's apple. Do you want to use them or have them used on you?
Oh my god. Souske pulls back a little and watches that blush flash across Makoto's cheeks. Mostly want to use, but maybe a couple used on me? Souske chuckles confidently. Everything had gone well so far. Last night was actually pretty damn amazing in his book, and that had been with just the two of them. So what could a toy or two hurt to try? It's you.
Well, I already told you I was all yours. Makoto's eyes light up like he's just been given a birthday present early and told he can unwrap it now. He swoops down and catches Sousuke's lips in a passionate kiss, and Souske can already feel himself getting hard. He's a trigger. He's a quick trigger or whatever.
I don't know. It's
which Makoto, of course, notices and smiles. He starts muttering something about not having much time, and since Sousuke's okay with it, he might as well get started. And Souske taps him with his knee as he sits up. I thought you were keeping me here all weekend, he asks with a smirk when Makoto looks at him. Makoto freezes for a moment at Sousuke's words, then beams at him, relieved that Souske was actually serious about letting him do things to him and staying with him. Souske has to swallow a few times, because the look Makoto was giving him was intense. He did not know how a shirtless man, covered in scratches and hickeys and looking at him like Souske was a 5-course meal and he was starving, could still look adorable. But Makoto managed to do it. Yep. How about some breakfast first before you ravage me again, huh? He asks as he slides off the bed and leans down to give Makoto a quick kiss and maybe some clothes. No.
I can do something to eat, but I think I'd rather keep you naked. Makoto smiles and pulls Souske down the hall to the kitchen. Souske is learning very quickly that when Makoto says something, he means it. It's not like he's shy about his body or anything, but he's never really been one to parade around without clothes on either. So sitting at Makoto's table with his bare ass sticking to the chair while Makoto putters around in sweatpants and an apron is an altogether new experience for him. Just one of many for the weekend, apparently. Makoto finishes and brings a large plate over and sets it in front of the chair across from Sousuke's. He gives Makoto a questioning look, but doesn't say anything as Makoto pours a couple glasses of juice and sets them down next to the plate before tossing his apron onto the counter. He settles himself onto the chair and pats his leg.
Souske frowns. I am not sitting on your lap.
Why not?
1, I am not a small person and I will end up crushing your leg. 2, I am perfectly capable of having my own plate and feeding myself and everything.
Come on, Souske. I'm basically the same size as you. You're not going to crush me.
Which they observed earlier in the
That's
story.
pointed out all the time. My nose is running. Please excuse me while I'm gross.
Okay. Yeah.
Here we go. It's gross. I'm always sick, though. You're not going to crush me. Souske just stares at him, and Makoto pouts. And fuck, that pout should be illegal because Souske can feel his resolve wavering. Who was he kidding? He was basically bulking just to be combative about it. He really had no reason to say no. Humor me.
I should just grab a plate and take some of that. Makoto smiles at him warmly and pats his leg again. Souske shakes his head, but he stands up anyway. He pauses next to Makoto's chair and eyes him warily. You've got something planned.
Breakfast. Makoto grins and gently tugs at his waist, and he rolls his eyes but gives in. It's not as bad as he expected. It feels strange since he basically has to straddle Makoto's leg so they both can reach the food, but Makoto's thigh is strong underneath him, and Makoto hums happily as he slips one arm around Sousuke's waist. It's actually kind of nice to feel someone sitting behind him and pressing random kisses to his back as he sits and eats breakfast. There's something soothing about it. He's still sure Makoto has something more than just breakfast and rubbing his fingers along Sousuke's bare hip in mind, but he can't figure out what. Before long, Makoto shifts under him and Souske stands up to go back to his own chair. "No, it's fine," Makoto says. "The chair was digging into my leg a little. I just misjudged where to sit. You're fine, really." Souske sits back down and immediately stiffens.
What am I sitting on?
Nothing. Don't worry about it. Probably just something in my pocket.
Something in your pocket? Are you just happy to see me?
Both.
Makoto. He frowns at the orange slice held up in front of him, but opens his mouth obligingly when Makoto brings it to his lips. Then nearly bites Makoto's fingers as he feels a vibration against his balls. Fuck, what are you doing? He growls out after he chokes down the orange slice and tries to stand up. Makoto just tightens his arm around Sousuke's waist and nuzzles against his back.
"Breakfast," he repeats, as if that answers everything, and holds another orange slice up to Souske.
"Breakfast," Souske says after he carefully takes the orange slice and eats it, "with the vibrator in your pocket." Makoto simply hums again, and Souske shifts, trying to find a comfortable position with the small device resting against his balls again. It's not like Souske can really even be upset with Makoto. He did tell him he was free to play, more or less, and technically he's not upset. He's just hungry, and it's kind of hard to concentrate on eating anything when each time he brings something to his lips, Makoto turns the vibrator on for a jolt, or slips his fingers down Sousuke's cock, and then he almost chokes on whatever is in his mouth. Makoto tisks at him and holds up a bite of toast in front of his lips.
Toast. Oh. "And here I thought you said you could feed yourself." Souske takes the toast and then licks at his fingers, and Makoto hums in approval.
Ow.
"If I have to feed you, I might as well have just tied your hands up and slapped a blindfold on you." He remembers seeing something that looked like a silk rope or tie of some kind in that box just before Makoto had come back in, and he swallows thickly at the thought of Makoto tying his hands behind his back. "I have a really nice black ropes... I have really nice black ropes in my little box. Did you see them? I bet you'd look good with those against your skin, all tied up for me." Souske groans and shifts when Makoto taps the vibrator on. He doesn't shut it off right away this time, and Souske shudders as he slides himself backwards just a little. Makoto holds up a small piece of fruit, and Souske doesn't even open his eyes when Makoto presses it gently against his lips. It's hard to concentrate on chewing because as soon as the fruit is in his mouth, Makoto's fingers are trailing down his chest. "I really wish I would have grabbed something for you here." His fingers brush across one nippy, Noel, nippe. Like Pepe the Frog.
Oh god.
And then, oh my god, you trying to be free in life, Pepe the Frog, one of the free members, fanfiction / and then the other. Sousuke's finding it hard to really get any particular strings of thoughts going, but he manages to latch onto the one that is wondering what all was in that box, and which Makoto was planning on using on him, and which, if any, Makoto had been interested in having used on himself. Makoto pinches a nipple, and Souske groans and shifts forward. The vibrator slips with the motion and winds up settled in between his cheeks. It's a strange feeling, made even stranger when Makoto tenses his leg and raises his foot on his toes so he's pressing up with his thigh, and he drops a hand to Sousuke's hip and pushes down. "Do you know what else I wish right now?" Souske shakes his head. "I have this vibrating plug that I'm sure you would just love." "Oh, Cindy, you just love it." You know, he's like a suburban mom. Oh my god, I'm gonna start reading Makoto as a suburban mom from now on.
Oh god.
His fingers dig into Sousuke's hip, and his other hand leaves his chest to lightly tug at his cock. "I wish it was in you right now, stretching and holding you open while I feed you breakfast and you lick crumbs off my fingers. Cindy, I guarantee you would just love it. You would just love it."
Okay.
Sorry, it's like the cupcakes from the PTO meeting.
Oh.
I'm segueing so bad. Souske groans at the heat building in his stomach. There it is again.
Mm-hmm.
Help. I've broken it.
The back button.
I've broken it. At the heat building in his stomach.
They say that and nipple a lot.
Yeah.
There's so many nipples.
Maybe Sousuke's like a puppy. Like 12 or whatever.
I think it's 8.
That's a lot. Whether it's from the words or the images or the conversational way he's talking, as if they're discussing the weather, he's not sure, and Makoto kisses his back. Sounds like you like the idea. You actually get to read.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Makoto. Souske has to concentrate on talking and not just drifting away on the waves of new sensations he's being assaulted with. Nothing they're doing should technically have him this damn hard, and he blames it on his eager imagination and his eager partner biting gently at his back. Should I add some type of way of speaking for Souske?
I don't care. This is you. I'm probably not going to stick with the suburban mom thing, by the way. It's really weird. You have a line. I did.
I know. I'm just thinking,
go. Come on.
Whatever. I think I've liked every idea you've had so far. I'll just start experimenting with it.
Yeah, go for it. Good. Makoto practically purrs as he slowly pushes Souske forward until his chest is on the table, arms crossed under his forehead. He nudges Souske so he straightens his legs and stands on his own, but he doesn't even need Makoto to tell him not to bring his chest up or move away from the table. Can we keep going, or do you need more of a break? Maybe some food? Part of Souske is still confused by how this sweet Makoto asking for permission and checking if he's had enough to eat is the same one slowly rubbing his thumb against Sousuke's balls and tracing lines between the bite marks he left on his back. If you promise to let me have... Oh, this is you. Hey!
If you promise to let me have lunch later, I think I'll be good to go. Makoto's laughter sparks the pool of heat in his stomach. And he smiles against his arms. His hips are nudged forward, and he moves so that the tabletop supports most of his weight, and he's suddenly thankful he has long legs, or this would be an almost painful stretch.
Oh my god. Good. Don't move. I'll be back in just a minute. Souske hears him go to his room, and he tenses in anticipation. He saw a lot of things in that box, and he wonders just what Makoto has in mind. Wonder if he's going to wind up fucking him at the table or on it. Bent over just like this. He groans but does his best not to move. You. Rude. Water bottle. You listened so well, Makoto says when he gets back. Now you gotta speak with water in your mouth. Don't you look like an ass?
No. I don't know where this
gross
is.
Again.
Okay, you just scrolled past it, Mike. I don't
sorry.
see where you ended.
You're not good. Or not usually.
Not usually. Goosebumps pop up along Sousuke's arms as Makoto runs his fingers up his spine. Something dark dangles at the edge of his visions. I will admit that I like listening to you, though.
That's good. Makoto gently pulls Sousuke's arms from under his head and presses Sousuke's wrist carefully against his back. Will you be okay if I do this? He kisses Sousuke's shoulder, letting him know what he was asking. And Souske warms a little at the gesture. Something about Makoto being so kind and gentle and thoughtful while still being so dominant and pushy was just so fucking hot to Souske. Apparently...
He says that a lot.
Yeah.
Everything is fucking hot.
Apparently he had a kind of kink or something for being pushed around. Maybe it was just something about Makoto in general that had him hot and aching at 10 in the morning.
Yeah, I'll let you know otherwise.
Cool as a cucumber.
Cool material wraps around his wrists, and he flexes his fingers a little when Makoto knots it tight. Then he feels the other end tickle across his back as Makoto drags it up and drops the rope in a loose coil between his shoulder blades. Warm lips press against his lower back, and he arches into the touch. A slap on his ass cheek, just this side of harsh, startles him into letting out a surprised grunt. Makoto's hand rubs at the barely pink skin. Then he presses another kiss to Sousuke's lower back and slips a slick finger into him without warning.
Oh my god.
Fuck Makoto. as if he doesn't have a finger knuckle deep in Sousuke's ass. Makoto lets out a questioning hum.
Oh my lord. Something wrong? A second finger joins the first, and Souske tenses a little at the pressure. He's still looser than normal from last night, but not loose enough that it doesn't sting a little. It's just this side of too painful that it sends a curl of heat through his veins, making him wonder briefly if he's discovering another possible kink of his. He'll have to remember to thank Makoto after this weekend for not just the amazing sex, but also for bringing this side of himself a little closer to the surface, and also making his poops easier.
Oh god, Kenny.
It said he's looser than normal. He probably doesn't have to push as hard.
Oh god.
I just plops out.
Oh god.
Thank you, Makoto. Now I poop easy.
Oh.
Makoto's fingers spread apart a little, and Souske tries not to push back onto them. Souske? His name is in that tone that sets off something deep in his gut, and he groans. His grut.
You just surprised the hell out of me, I guess. Souske manages to say before a third finger is slipped in, and he hisses.
That's a sexy noise.
Yeah, the stretch barely becomes tolerable before it's suddenly gone, and he's left empty. Makoto. A thumb circles his entrance, and he tenses a moment before willing himself to relax. That's you.
So good, Makoto praises, and then something cool and hard is pressed against him, making him grunt in surprise. God, you are the patron saint of sexual noises.
I'm the best grunter.
Whatever Makoto has fills his hole tight, and he squirms a little against the table at the sensation. It's not necessarily uncomfortable, but he's stretched more than he was ready for. Makoto's fingers rub gently around his entrance as he presses just a little harder before stepping around the table so he can squat down in front of Souske. Remember earlier when I talked about that vibrating plug I had? His sweet smile is at odds with the hungry look in his eyes, and Sousuke's not sure exactly which one has his stomach doing flips. He's waiting for an answer, and Souske nods. Not sure he trusts his voice at the moment, as his ass clenches around the foreign object and his fingers twitch uselessly against his lower back. Well, now you have it, and you're going to keep being so beautifully cooperative, and hold on to it for me quietly while I clean up. By the time I'm done, you should be ready for some more fun. It's the smile, he decides, as he nods again, that's causing his brain to short-circuit ever so slightly. That innocent, angelic smile that had him and the world fooled. Now he knows what's behind that smile. He's not sure he's going to be able to handle it without memories of this weekend coming to light. Makoto gives him a quick kiss and on the forehead and steps back around the table. You want to keep reading while I be gross? Thanks.
Ew. Oh, where are you?
Second sentence of the paragraph.
Okay. But relaxing is hard to do with the plug in him. It's not long enough to really stimulate anything inside him, and it's just wide enough to be mildly uncomfortable given Makoto's quick preparations. Which was probably the point, considering how thorough Makoto had been last night. Last night, yeah. Makoto hums a song as he runs some water in the sink to wash the dishes, and Souske tilts his head to listen better. Makoto glances over his shoulder at the table and then leans against the counter to grab something from the windowsill behind it. Souske yelps. Yipe. In surprise when the plug starts vibrating. The table shifts underneath him, and for a brief moment he wonders if it's strong enough to hold his weight like this. It's a table, you're not that heavy. Now. Oh wait, that's you.
Yeah, this is me. Now, remember you were going to be quiet for me, Makoto says as he comes back to the table with a damp cloth. And don't worry about the table. It's plenty sturdy, he adds as if he can read Sousuke's mind. Souske can feel the edge of the cloth tickling near his leg, and he resists the urge to shift away from it. He also manages not to say or do anything when the vibrations suddenly increase as Makoto's fingers wipe some crumbs from under the edge of his hip. He gets a soft pat on his back and a whisper of fingers down his spine for his lack of reaction before Makoto turns back to the sink and the vibrations cease. This is how he spends the next half an hour. At least he thinks it's about a half hour since he can't see a clock and doesn't dare ask. The vibrations start and stop with no rhythm or reason behind them, and He does his best to simply lie still and hold on to his control as Makoto tidies the kitchen. Makoto finally makes a remark that it takes all of Sousuke's willpower to not be vocal about. You know, Makoto says offhand as he wipes off the counter. It's as if he's suddenly remembering something about the weather or last week's headline news. You're doing impressively well. Souske shifts just enough to let Makoto know he's listening. When I had that in me, I barely knew what to do with myself. I couldn't even sit still. Souske does not whimper or groan as his cock twinged where it was trapped beneath his stomach and the table at the image of Makoto spread out with a plug inside him. But he did zone out long enough to wonder just what else Makoto had used on himself and what it might feel like to fuck Makoto, to sink his heat and see his broad chest spread out underneath Souske, to make him hold his knees wide as Souske thrust into him again and again. Souske. Oh, it's a high voice. Souske. Makoto's voice is high and teasing, and it snaps him out of his fantasies. He blinks as Makoto's smiling face comes into focus. Ah, there you are. I thought I lost you for a moment.
You did lose me for a moment. Souske admits and smiles with a soft laugh that slips from Makoto's lips.
Honest and a good listener.
Talk, like, really high.
Oh, God. I'll have to make sure you get a good reward of this. Fingers run through his hair and tug gently at his scalp as the vibrations pick up again, and Souske bites his lip to keep himself grounded. Makoto makes an almost distressed noise as he drops his hand from Sousuke's hair to cup his face. A damp thumb probes gently at his mouth, and he opens it automatically. Makoto rubs his thumb along Sousuke's lip, and then he leans in for a kiss. I think you've done excellently so far. Can you be good and do what I need for just a little longer? He has to swallow a couple of times, but Souske finally manages to nod and get out of a breathy... Just continue.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Before Makoto pulls away, he swallows again when Makoto stands and he notices the slight tenting of his sweatpants. Then Makoto hooks his thumbs in the waistband and pulls them off, and Sousuke's mouth is watering. No. He always kind of enjoyed giving head. Not that it's exactly a topic he can bring up among his friends as a favorite pastime or anything. And he suddenly wants, no needs, Makoto's cock in his mouth. He must look almost desperate with the way he's staring with such open want and licking his lips. Which only seems to turn Makoto on because Makoto barely even touches himself. Just a couple short strokes before he takes a step closer and tangles his fingers into Sousuke's hair again.
I think I'm dead inside.
Oh.
Where am I?
What do you think?
Souske.
There.
Okay, Souske? His eyes dart up as Makoto tugs at his hair and he grins before opening his mouth wide. The smile he gets in return sends sparks through him, and it takes everything he has not to come when Makoto slides into his waiting mouth. The angle sucks. His neck throbs and his scalp burns, and Makoto is not small. He remembers that fact very well from last night, but it doesn't stop the heat. How big is he? I want to know size. What do you consider not small, Souske?
That's you said Bethany.
No, that's Souske.
No, but that's Makoto.
Oh. Ooh.
In this case.
Ooh. Oh my god. Shout out to Bethany Ketchum and her roommate walking behind as she opens up that picture in wide view.
And it's like a foot.
It's huge. Okay. But it doesn't stop the heat from pooling in his gut. Doesn't stop the small noises that escape his throat as Makoto slowly rolls his hips forward. Doesn't stop the satisfied hum that Makoto lets out when Souske takes a gasp for air and then nudges forward for more. His throat is on fire, but so is the rest of him. The vibrations can't quite reach the spot that he knows would have him over the edge and practically weeping in a matter of seconds, but there are steady pulse that adds another layer of need. Tears well up in the corner of his eyes from the pressure of the angles, and Makoto pulls out his knees. He bends and kisses... Sorry, his knees was not a thing.
His knees.
He bends and kisses Sousuke's cheeks and he's gone around the table. Souske feels himself being pulled backwards, hips hanging off the table, and Makoto leans over his back for a moment. He's pressed against the table, cock-tapping the edge of it almost painfully. I'm trying to make it seem intense, but I'm running out of breath. Hands bound behind his back, and presses against Makoto's stomach, with Makoto's arms pressed on either side of him, and suddenly he realizes he's never really felt small before, but he does right now. With most of Makoto's weight pressed against him, he feels small and completely at Makoto's mercy.
Should I see how much I can read in one breath?
Go for it. See if you can finish that paragraph.
No. The vibrations stop as Makoto stands up properly, and Souske barely gets a chance to relax before the plug is suddenly gone. Cool fingers slip inside him, and he bucks backwards before he can control himself, but Makoto simply laughs softly and scissors his fingers a couple times, more to spread lubrication around than anything. That's enough of that. Then Makoto's pressing against him and fills him with one sudden push of his hips. That sounds really uncomfortable. Souske lets out a hiss. It has Makoto rubbing circles against his hips, but not doing anything else. No murmured apologies or pulling out to stretch him properly. It burns. The plug wasn't quite as wide as Makoto, after all. But he finds himself pushing back against Makoto all the same. It's an overload of sensations, but he doesn't even fight. Simply lets himself sink into the heat, knowing Makoto is there to catch him, to work him through it and bring him over the edge. It doesn't take more than a few thrusts, and he'd be embarrassed if he hadn't been spread over Makoto's kitchen table for almost 40 minutes, and if the way Makoto was slamming into him hadn't been so intense. He comes with a shout.
I'm just adding some background noise, just keep reading.
Wait, he comes with a shout. Oh! Body touching, Makoto continues to thrust in.
Those white farts are so delicious.
Splash off the thing and drip down his leg. Makoto simply shifts his own hips slightly and pushes Souske back onto the table just enough that most of his weight is back on it. His legs are quivering, and he can barely stand on his own by the time Makoto comes with a groan that makes him shiver. Your turn.
What?
A groan.
I groan?
Coming with a groan. Very shiverful. Or maybe it's the way his oversensitive body is clenching in Makoto's cock as it pulses inside him, or the way Makoto's hands are twitching on his hips. Makoto pulls out, and he can't suppress the whimper that slides out when he does.
We're going to hell. Oh my god. We're gonna have to need another section at this point.
It's like this long. He's not sure if the loss of Makoto inside him or the drag of his cock rubbing his overworked entrance, but he's not sure he cares either. Makoto unties Sousuke's hands before he even slips the condom off, and he's back before Souske can even drop his arms
on the table.
On? I'm assuming...
Off screen, I guess.
Because Souske, it was probably during Sousuke's point of view where he's like, I'm tied here, this plug is vibrating in my ass.
Alright.
Soft kisses and warm hands caress his back, and Makoto works to carefully restore proper blood flow, I got it this time, to his shoulders and arms. Souske simply murmurs what he thinks is a thank you. Thanks. A few minutes later, Makoto urges him to stand up, and then leads him to sink into the couch. He thinks he hears water running again, and assumes Makoto is probably cleaning the table up, and the thought strikes him as funny. He's chuckling even as he drifts off to sleep.
Alright, and that's chapter 3, right?
Yep.
We did it! We're 3/4 of the way done. Do you have chapter 4 open so we can give them the preview? There is no preview. There's no preview for chapter 4, so it is a mystery. Alright, well, thoughts?
This one was a bit slower paced than
this one's slower paced. I kind of like this one a bit better.
Yeah.
I don't really like it when they're just like hardcore, just like right into it. Like chapter 2 threw me off because it was like they just finished. Time to go. Yo, got places to go. Clock's ticking.
No refractory period.
Yeah, this one's a bit better. Getting real sick of the heat pooling in his stomach gut. Getting real sick of that.
It is a bit overused, yes.
But this isn't the worst.
Although it's not that. Yeah, I like it. Which is why I suggested we read
Lindsay likes this fic.
By myself in my room with the lights turned off.
Ooh. Lights down low. Alright, so If you have any fanfiction suggestions for us, please leave them down below. Like the video if you liked it.
To see if someone had on the
I didn't get a notification for it. I can check. But leave suggestions down below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. We've got awesome content coming out every week. And we'll see you next time with another episode of Talking About Stuff where we finish up Not So Innocent by Ezzy Dean. So until then...
Happy fapping.
Stay awesome, read more smut. That's our slogan, not happy fapping. But you know what? If you get off to this, happy fapping. All right. Bye.
Bye.